So welcome, right? Welcome to another edition of Made in Banglatown. Today is very special. Reason being, based on the name, we're actually we're surrounded by three individuals who live that. We're all made in Banglatown, right?
Absolutely,
Born and
that's
raised
right.
here in in Hamtramck and things like that. We came from similar beginnings, but we branched out in different aspects of finance, and we've been taking that knowledge and bringing it back into the community. Today, I have the pleasure of having Nabil Syed in front of me, who is a broker, owner at Amin Realty. You've been putting the community on his back for a while, especially when it comes to housing and investing and things like that. So welcome to the pod, man. It's
Thank
nice
you
to have
guys,
you.
man. I know you guys personally, but it's a pleasure to be here in front of a public audience and doing, this podcast, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully we could create some value.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely,
And
man.
I always got my gang member here with me. You know what I mean? Yeah. This is AJ Das. This guy. Big business, big consulting. Das Venture Capital. That's this guy.
Venture
Consultant, co-owner, co-founder at Menace Media. Right. So I'll say personally, he's been helping a lot of business owners that I know when it comes to developing their business and how to really get get their ROI from the plans and things like that. So shout out to AJ. I'm Naji from Maine and Banglatown. Naji, I'm what can I say? I'm a lot of things, but today I'm an inquisitor. I'm very curious when it comes to the things that we can learn from these gentlemen here when it comes to the financial aspect and how we can grow our community. I'm from a banking background in finance. Right now, actually, I just got promoted to investment banking. So this is kind of like this is in my wheelhouse. But you said broker and owner at Amin Realty. Can you explain on that? What does it mean to be an owner, just in general, but especially owner at Amin Realty?
Absolutely. So Amin Realty was a company established in 2017, guys. And I didn't come in as an owner. I came in actually, and just by luck, I was the first agent that joined the company.
Oh, wow.
I got licensed as a real estate agent in 2016. I was at a company called Keller Williams. It was out of Royal Oak.
You said Cat Williams?
Keller Williams, not
okay.
Cat Williams.
Okay.
No, so I was at Keller Williams, keep in mind 2016, different landscape. The world was a different place. That's about 10 years ago, it's crazy for me to even say that, bro. Wow. 10 years ago, where were we? What were we doing, right? So I was an agent. I got licensed. I started doing my thing. And then I got approached by the founder, Sam Amin. The name Amin Realty stems from obviously his last name, but also that company and the name of the meaning of the name is honest. That's what it means in Arabic. And I like the fact that it came with that kind of name. I like the fact that it had the cultural pull with it because, being at Keller Williams, one thing I realized is I felt like a misfit there. Growing up in Detroit and Hamtramck, growing up as, a first generation immigrant, we come with a different life. And, all the corporate stuff was cool, the events were cool, but, I just didn't feel like I was home, And when I decided to join Amin Realty, I felt a lot more like this was home. It was someone who understood me. It was someone who was at a place where I could see myself following in that footstep. Now, fast forward, 2025, we're in 2025, right?
Yeah,
sometimes I get confused where I'm at, in life. But in 2017 we joined. Fast forward now, we have 2 locations, 100 plus agents, and it really all just started from grinding, every day, day in, day out, doing the traditional stuff agents do, helping homeowners, the average Joe find their home, possibly sell their homes, guiding them through that process, And, over the years, I got some traction in my career where I then launched, in 2020, a company called Onyx Homes, powered by Amin Realty. So that was a sales team, had about 6 to 7 agents at the peak of that sales team itself. And we were closing 25 million plus in sales. We were doing, of course, the foot marketing, which I call it, just talking to people, you guys, other individuals that we know from childhood, from adulthood. And then we added components of actual online marketing. We started paying for advertisements, stuff like that. So that was great. But again, I felt like there could be more. There's better opportunities. I want to do what I'm doing, but on a bigger platform, a little bit of a bigger scale. So I approached the owner and, we discussed a few things and we decided, hey, you know what? You're allowed to open and we can partner on a new location. We ended up opening up a location in Troy. I operated that location for 2 years. Go ahead, you had a question?
Is that the one on 14 Mile, or is that's the headquarters, right?
So we have one that's our headquarters. That's the one we've been in since 2017.
Yeah.
It's on Chicago and Mound. It's in the city of Warren. And now we have our second location in Sterling Heights. We had locations in Troy, Canton, and Hamtramck as well.
Yeah.
For each reasons, different things happened, but we
Hamtramck,
decided
that one in Hamtramck is not activated anymore?
we sold that building.
Oh,
And
man.
It was a passion to be in Hamtramck, but the
Yeah.
reality is that a office only makes sense if it's used, right? I could have 4 or 5 locations
Gotcha.
open,
Okay.
but at the end of the day, most of the
overhead.
a lot more overhead. That's one, but second, a lot of people were buying in other areas. Hamtramck was a hub for where all of us started, but that's not where most people are staying. So we had this huge, beautiful, big office. It was like a little over 6,000 square feet, but a couple people kind of using it type of thing in and out. So, as a business owner, we have to look at things analytically. We have to look at it logically, and the logic behind it wasn't making sense for the cost to operate it. So fortunately, we made a profit on selling that building. There's a new business owner. I don't know what he plans on doing with it, but long story short, after opening that Troy location, running that successfully, again, we decided to make a huge pivot as a company, and we went to eXp Realty. It's a international company. It's like a cloud-based brokerage. Wanted to partner with them. Long story short, we tried it. We preferred being independent. It's just a lot of love and passion and being able to control business the way you want. So then we decided we'll go back to being independent, at which time, instead of having different locations, I was presented an opportunity to become the company owner in itself. So this was the journey of how I became owner, but your question was related to what it means to be an owner.
Yeah.
Being an owner at a brokerage is kind of like having a classroom and being a teacher, all right? I feel like teaching is one of the most important aspects of being a broker, because if I'm gonna work under someone, one, they need to be able to help me grow. And second, I also need to have the confidence and the track record to be able to encourage and motivate people. So one of the responsibilities of mine is to train agents, encourage them, push them to try to be their best self. And when you're talking to someone, like, you got friends, but then you start doing business with friends, or people you're doing business with, you're talking about things beyond business. You start to wear so many hats, and you're everything from obviously their coach in the real estate aspect to being their mentor, advisor, their shoulder to lean on. It becomes so much more.
That's a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot, man. And having 100 people, fortunately, I've got my partner. He's the one who helped me become this type of person, helped me become who I am.
Who was that?
Sam Amin,
Yeah.
the founder. Yeah. And just
the
as a
creator,
reference.
the creator of Amin Realty.
There you go,
Yeah.
the creator,
Yeah.
right? So, it's not all on my shoulder, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. Being a teacher, being a guide, an advisor, you have to have an understanding of marketing itself, because you need to help people grow their business.
Yeah.
We need to grow ours. Obviously, the sales side. So, being an owner means a lot of things, but to me, it's like a patch. I feel proud, when I see people talk well, or even if they talk bad, I use that as a way to improve. But for me, it means like representing not only our community on the real estate side and spectrum of what our community needs are, but it's an honor because of what we've accomplished so far.
Yeah, that's you summed it up like very well, and
Thank you,
the
bro.
way you explained it, like phenomenal. I would say, you hit on a lot of good topics, right? I think the value of having a mentor or a good mentor is a very key,
So
key
huge.
piece, right? Because that having a good mentor, especially, coming to Detroit, Hampshire, America in general as a first generation immigrant, right?
Yeah.
That mentor is really what can help you like expedite the process, especially if you're not going
Exactly.
the traditional path of like school, degree, job, corporate, that mentor can teach you the ropes or how the game is handled, right?
100%.
The right way and the wrong way sometimes.
Right and the
you
wrong
know?
way, yeah, it's true.
Cause you need all of that, right? At the
Yeah.
end of the day, I noticed growing up, first generation, right? All we had really was like our parents, number one, right?
Yeah.
That was they were the only people that we had any kind of like knowledge about. But they're not from here. They're from Bangladesh, right? So now a lot of their stories, like sure, it adds value, but it had nothing to do with what we needed to learn and understand to do successful here, if that kind of makes sense, right? So who did you have growing up besides your parents that you could kind of lean on when it comes to learning the ropes here on business, entrepreneurship, or just life in general,
Man, probably no one. No one that like pops out that like, okay, this was my go-to
Yeah.
for every and all issues. But that doesn't mean that there wasn't mentorship. Like, fortunately, my dad is a businessman. He has a business to this day. So kind of seen some stuff through that.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of learning along the way there. Education-wise, my brother, he was fortunately a super good kid. He ended up being valedictorian in high school. So, if I needed help in school, I did have him.
Yeah.
Outside in life and just in the streets or hanging out and things like that. I hung around with people of all ages, people 7, 8, 10 years older to people younger than me. So being able to being exposed to different people and where they're at in life, it was a good mentorship. But there's not that one person, and I think most people need that because even like as an example, everybody knows Kobe Bryant, the guy when it comes to basketball. He had his own private coach. And I believe, I can't remember, what was his name? He was coach for Michael Jordan as well, So if you see a guy at that level and he still needs somebody to kick him in the ass,
Right.
push him,
Yep.
then who are we?
Right.
Like even the fact that there's two of you guys here, maybe you didn't want to show up to the podcast today, but you made a commitment and, you got maybe your friend like, yo, we got to do this.
Someone has to hold you accountable.
Somebody needs to hold you accountable.
Yes, sir.
And that's a lot of what my responsibility becomes for agents is that we hold them accountable. Like I offer one-on-one meetings with people and consultations where on a monthly basis they're meeting with me. It could be as simple as just, Nabil, what do you think about this idea? Or, like I've been in sales for the last 10 years. I've trialed and errored. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on
Yeah.
mistakes. And the truth is we were talking about learning from mentors. Sometimes the biggest advice somebody could give you is what not to do.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We all think we know and we figured it
Yeah.
out, but life is the best teacher. And sometimes for us to really understand, like, I always reflect back to, my dad saying, "Boro ile buzbay." When you get older, you'll understand.
Yeah.
When you get older, you'll understand. Now, we're older.
Yeah.
We start to understand how much they did for us, or some of these things that we just go through in life. It makes us who we are. So I don't have one mentor. I would say it's an array of different people in different categories. But
Yeah.
if I could give advice to young people, is find that one mentor that you can rely on, or someone you like. You know what? I'd love to be like this guy when I grow up. That's it. A mentor doesn't need to be an official title, an official responsibility. It's just, that guy, that older gentleman who gives you a little bit of advice here and
Yeah.
there.
Absolutely, man. I think,
Yeah.
especially in our community, I think some of our earliest mentors are like the community itself, like how you were mentioning.
Absolutely.
The people around you. It could be your friends, your siblings, your uncles, or your neighbor. I think being able to kind of just take in the experiences of others is really what will help you learn much faster. And then ideally, you know, if you find the right person where this is exactly, this person is going down the path where I would like to pursue as well, you know, then trying to align yourself with that mentor is like super important. And the way you go about doing it can be different. Like you can, usually starts with by, you know, providing some value of sort, maybe helping them or maybe even interning for them or just trying to shadow them even, you know. So I think just getting your foot in the door that way, that's really how you can learn all the different opportunities there are, especially, you know, like if you're not taking a traditional path.
100%.
So.
Interning though, it's so valuable because especially like if I'm anywhere and I'm not getting paid, that means one, I need to or want to be there. And second, I'm not focused on income. So the only thing to be focused on is learning. That's why some of the best positions or most colleges and even, you know, educated people, they start in their career paths as interns because you're focused on learning. And a lot of people, they're trying to get to where they want to go. And obviously income matters, but they forget that there's a process to everything and anything we do. You know, like I think one of the best ways or easiest ways for people to learn is just by doing. And that's the way I learn. Like you could put me in a classroom and a whiteboard and someone's saying all the right things, but it's just not registering. I learn best by doing it.
By doing.
You know, like it's such a weird story, but I remember when I was a kid, I was like 16, 17 years old, I started college, you know, and I didn't know how to change a tire even, right? And I had this boy, you know, I say his name, maybe you guys know him, Abidul. Okay? Abidul Ahad, this guy is the group handyman. He's the group barber. He's just good with his hands. So if I had an issue, like call Abidul or call someone up that's similar, you know, and they just kind of do the thing for them, you know, fix your tire, you know, put air in it, small stuff, right? So it was winter. This is like 2013, 14 winters. All right, if you guys can think back, bro, those were brutal.
Way colder.
Bro,
now.
oh my God,
6,
7, 8 inches.
8 inches of snow, yo.
Right.
Negative 30 wind chill.
Right.
Yeah.
There's an iconic picture, you know, it just came to my mind, like people putting chairs.
Oh my God, we still do that in Hamtramck,
People
man.
still do it.
Yeah,
What's
even
up,
when there's
man?
no snow, it's just like chill. You know
It's
what
my
I'm saying?
spot.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Now
Man.
the new thing is get the handicap sign.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
my
the trick.
God.
Just get a handicap sign, you're good. On my old street, you know, we still own our property, and I go there just to check on the tenant once in a while. Bro, there's like 12 handicap. I'm like, I literally see you. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with you, man.
Yeah. The whole street is handicapped, bro.
Volunteer to be a handicap.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
Apparently, you just gotta
crazy.
pay like the fee or something.
Yeah, bro, I'm
I'm
gonna get it though. I'm talking shit, but I'm gonna get it though.
You have to.
I did have an accident. I got a hip problem still. You know what I'm saying?
you
We
know what
need
I'm
it.
saying? As
Perks
long as
of
you got like
Hamtramck,
a,
man.
as long as you got an older relative, you know what I'm saying? Just like
Perks of
gotta get that.
Hamtramck, you gotta claim your parking spot with the handicap sign.
That's right.
Talk.
But to go back to that story, right? Literally, I had no clue how to change a tire. I didn't even have a spare. Like, I was driving a Honda Civic at that time, 7, 8 inches of snow. Something happened.
Yeah.
I'm on the side of the freeway. It's like 8 a.m. It's a blizzard. It's still snowing. There's snow on the ground. So I called up my boy. I was like, yo, my man, I need help.
Yeah.
Pull up, bro. I need you to save me. He's like, bro, I'm
AAA, where
literally.
you at?
Yeah, where you at, man? He's like, I'm literally on my way to class. Fortunately, we were going to the same community college at that time. He's like, this is what I could do for you. I'm gonna pull over on the side, give you the tire, and I gotta go. I can't miss class. I got an exam.
Okay.
So I'm literally there scratching my head. You know, like I understand. All right. You know, like the hardest part for me at that moment, like I could spin the lug and all that, but like where to put the jack and it's snowing.
Yeah.
And
man.
To pick up the car.
pick up the car and
Yeah.
it's uneven and you know it was just like.
Yeah.
But the truth is, I learned and I figured it out between just trying a little bit of YouTube. Called him a couple more times while he was driving, you know, and then that's when I realized, like, yo, only way for me to learn shit is for me to just do it,
Yeah.
you know. So that's all I've been doing, just throwing, you know, shots in the air, and something's gonna hit one day.
You know what? I like how
That's
you
wisdom right
said
there.
that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, you know, you said, you know, the biggest lessons that we learn, you know, is from failure, basically. You know, so what's the biggest lesson that you've learned from your worst deal?
The biggest lesson I've learned
From your worst deal.
is that people's word doesn't matter,
Oh, man.
and even the paperwork sometimes don't even matter.
Don't say that.
I swear to God,
Really?
like literally I've been in instances where,
Yeah.
you know, they've agreed, we've signed paperwork, we have a legally binding contract.
Yeah.
As a disclaimer, suing people, going to court, it's
Yeah.
not easy. First of all, it costs a lot of money. And second
Really?
of all, at the end of the day, a judge is a human. They're gonna hear both sides. It's probably not gonna go the way you planned.
Wow.
But that's what I realized, like, cross your T's, dot your I's, have a backup plan, and prepare for everything to go wrong. You know, like, over 2024, everything that's went wrong in my life, it has taught me more than the first 8 to 9 years of being in real estate, you know, and
Yeah.
it is due to the fact that I started focusing on investment and construction. It was just one thing after another. Even right now, I'm dealing with having to sue contractors. Like, I talked to my attorney yesterday.
Oh, man.
He's like, yo, literally after you spending thousands of dollars, you might not get nothing, even though he owes you. And I won't say the amount because it's big, but it's a X amount. It's very odd. So I did my own digging, and I was like, all right, at least this guy owns a house. You know, I found his personal name. A little bit of stuff I did, and I'm like, all right, you know what? It might be worth going and chasing after. But other than that, I would have been, you know, just screwed. You know, so stuff like that.
How does this work, man? Like when it comes to, you know, that's actually like one of the biggest things that are like preventing me from really getting into. Like I'm renting out my home. You know, we also went through like a renovation process and things like that. When it comes to these builders and tenants, I will say, like why are they the best and worst at the same time? You know, like how do you mitigate that
question.
risk? Like I just don't I don't get it. You know, like in the beginning, builders, you know, they all talk sweet. You know, it's very nice. Like they, you know,
man,
they.
I know that all too
You
well.
know,
yeah.
and then it's like, you know, they start working and it's just like, oh, okay. And then like closer to the end, it's kind of like, you know, it just doesn't add up, you know? So based on your experience, I mean, like how can you mitigate that risk? Even though you're saying with contracts too, they're not even binding at this point. Like what are,
They're binding, but there's the law, and then there's upholding the law.
Okay.
There's criminals who get away with stuff every day. So just understand that this is something that criminal activity can occur in. So one is that there should always, like from my experience dealing with contractors and things, there should be incentivization, there should be penalization.
okay.
All right?
I like that.
So there needs to be a document. Right now, you don't even need to use a lawyer. Go to ChatGPT, explain your situation, hit enter, it'll spit something out.
Right.
Literally, you guys can save thousands of dollars doing that.
Nice.
You know, we have forms and things that you know, being a broker and being a licensed realtor in the state of Michigan will provide you, but it's not enough. Use ChatGPT. If you're not using AI, implement it in all your business.
Hey, yo, ChatGPT sponsors this video.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
but no, you're right.
one, you need to make a contract.
Yeah.
You know, get people's ID and social security.
Ooh.
Right.
How do you get the soch though? You know what I
You
mean?
literally tell them, so if you're a business,
Yeah.
you have them sign what's called a W-9.
Okay.
If they're operating as a business, they're not gonna give you their personal, they're gonna give you their EIN.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, if a person who I'm hiring and I'm paying is not comfortable enough to give me their ID or EIN/social security number, then they're probably thinking of doing some shit shady. Just know
Okay.
that in the back of your head.
Yes, sir.
Have a contract, collect legal documentation, and in your contract, it should be like something along the lines of, you know, hey, you finish by this date, a $10,000 job, you get a $1,000 bonus. You finish by this date.
Wow.
Now they're like, oh, bro, if I, you know, finish by this date, I'm gonna get an extra $1,000. And in reverse, if you don't finish this by this date, every week it's $1,000 less in labor or material or whatever it is, right? So
I like that.
incentivization and a penalty. If you top that with, you know, having their ID, all that good stuff, at least they can't run away. You can at least file in small claims.
Yeah.
And then the biggest lesson I learned through the experience that I'm going through now is, you know, when we work for someone, do they pay us in advance or do we work a certain amount of hours and then get a check?
The latter.
The latter. You work, then get paid.
Yeah.
So when contractors are asking you for big deposits, red flag.
Okay.
If they were honest,
Okay.
right, they're unlikely to even care to have 50% up front. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just sounds like, you know, they're ready to run away.
Yeah. Run with the bag.
Run with the bag. So you want to be,
Okay.
you don't want to be over leveraged.
Yeah.
They shouldn't hold the cards, right? And just with natural, and I don't blame people. I just think we were all created with certain wiring and errors, right? If we were perfect, we'd be angels.
Yeah.
So people's innate nature is that the carrot and stick concept, right?
Okay.
You give them the carrot little by little at a time, it keeps them going.
Yeah.
You know, if not, at least I got the stick I could give you, you know? But if I already gave you the carrot, how am I gonna get you to come back?
Yeah, right.
What am I dangling over you?
Yeah, nothing, you know.
And contractors, they're the toughest people to work with. You can properly manage construction or a contractor, just know you could sit in any CEO boardroom or meeting and deal with them because contractors are the worst.
They're the worst, bro. Oh my
But we need them, you know?
Yeah.
And it'll only stay this bad till we get to a point where there's a surplus of contractors. Right now, there's way more work all over the world than there is actual people who are good at trade.
Yeah.
So that's my advice on dealing with them.
So right now, when it comes to, you know, you work with many contractors, you know, do you have like a solid group of contractors that, you know, that you go to, they're dependable?
So I am working with a lot of individual contractors, meaning that they're handyman, they do the work themselves, as well as general contractors who have a company.
Okay.
As a company owner, right, they can speak my language and I can speak them and they understand, you know, I have a business to run, there's overhead versus your one-off guy.
Yeah.
You know, so yes, I do, but I don't like to refer contractors and whatnot because I've had situations where, you know, like AJ trusted me, all right? He knows I'm gonna do whatever I say, and I told him Bob down the road
Bob
is
the
a
builder.
Yeah, Bob the builder,
Yeah.
right? Bob the builder. I wasn't even thinking of that. Just
Yeah.
Bob came to my mind. But Bob is a good contractor, right? I just said that in passing conversation.
Yeah.
He said, yo, can you give me Bob's number? I need my porch fixed. Bob might treat me good because, you know, I have a relationship, past experience with them. You know, I have contracts maybe in place.
Yeah.
Now I gave him to AJ and he's screwing AJ.
Yeah.
Now AJ is just upset with me, even though he knows it's not my fault. Bob's not my employee. He didn't hire me. It's just that now my reputation or my word, that stamp from Nabil gets tarnished a little by little.
Yeah,
And I just won't, I don't care if it's not my own client and it's not my own project, I won't help anyone or refer them. I might give them advice if they ask or how I may have done it, but it's just a risky business, you know. But yeah, I do have people I'm working with that.
So when
are
it comes
good.
to like the handyman and the contractors, you know, like are you working with any like Bengalis?
There are lots of Bengalis.
Yeah. And how would you say like the quality and you know of their work and things like that is compared to like, you know, the other people that you work with?
Yeah. So I think it's not even a Bengali versus not Bengali thing. I think the reality is that you will get what you pay for. If I pay someone a professional cost or the actual value of it, they will do it with their heart and soul. The problem, and I'll make it specifically about our community, is that one, a lot of families come from low income. So like, you know, even $50 is like, they're calculating, oh, I work 4 hours. You know, I'm paying this guy, he just did a plumbing job in 2 minutes and left, you know? So sometimes when you think in that kind of method, you're gonna get what you pay for, right? So there is good and bad in all, and I have seen the highest quality of contractors in the Bangladeshi community where there are people qualified to build your house, and then there are people who are straight scam artists. Bye, Sasa, uncle, how are you? All that. And they start something, they don't finish it.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't do quality work. You paid them for a plumbing job. A couple months later, same plumbing job you paid for is leaking. So you are gonna get what you pay for, and the best and safest way, you know, is like, I'm now at a point where, because I'm doing it as a business, I'm not working, or I don't want to work with anyone who doesn't actually have a trade license
Gotcha.
or isn't a builder. Because when Big Brother or Michigan State or the federal government is somehow involved, at least we got someone to go complain to. Other than that, everybody's their own boss.
Right.
You know, like contractor is not coming, who am I going to complain to?
Yeah, man, it's definitely quality. As quality and having the certificates to do it professionally is what's important. Like the number of houses I've seen in Hamtramck where it was just done by a handyman, and then like you can just tell like, yo, this was not even done properly. You gotta
It's
go
crooked.
get it.
Why?
Yeah, and now you're gonna spend more money to
Yeah.
get it fixed and done properly than if you just did it in the first place.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
so I know, we've definitely seen a huge like influx of like our community, Bangladeshi community, getting into like real estate, for example, or any other career. You know what I'm saying? Like, but contractors, right? Do you see? Because you mentioned that that trade is a growing and there's a lot of demand there. Do you see a lot of maybe like immigrants or like from our community or just Bengalis in general starting to kind of veer into that, or do you think it's more of like the older people that come here that kind of stick with that because they know that skill set from back home?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm asking because like I think, like you were saying, it could be a very lucrative career for like the young generation to get into. You know?
I have contractors that are working with me, my Amin Realty company, our agents. They're making well over $100,000, more than these software engineers and this and that, and they don't have any fame or even educational background that our community standard is at. But they're happy, they're successful. And to answer your specific question, there are still lots of old gen people who are like kind of doing it on their own. They got a couple people together, they're just kind of doing small remodels and stuff like that. But I am working with people our age, people who were born here, grew up here, that have now, very minimal, not nearly as many people that I would want in this field, but there are people who are starting to do it a little bit more professionally. They've got a good crew, they're setting up their companies properly. So I think it is starting, but it's not a fancy job. It's not like, we're not in a suit and jacket. So when people think that, like, our community, they have something against, like, the word mistori, a handyman,
Right.
contractor.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a mistori. It's so wrong. And then even like barbers, like, how much do we pay for haircuts now?
Too much.
50,
bro.
60
Wow,
minimum?
much,
man.
man.
Bro, and it takes them 45
I
minutes.
live and die by my barber. You know what I'm saying? He knows. Hey, real men don't cheat on their barbers. Ever since I've been at 412, I got one barber. All right, I've been seeing that guy for the past like 10 years. I don't even know his name
Man,
for
you
real.
been feeding him good, man.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I don't even know his name for real. He barely speaks English, but like when he sees me, he makes sure the seat is empty for me.
That's
you know
what's
what I'm
up.
saying? Like,
That's
like
what loyalty gets you.
it's not even that. It's just like, I think, that's art. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with construction, builders, carpenters, handyman. Like, it's an art, and it's something that we need, And I don't think our community should look down upon it, because as soon as emergency happens, you know what I'm saying? Now we're running around, like, oh, do you know a guy who can, you know what I'm saying? Like, we need that. We need that 100%. And I think, we need more Bengalis in trade where they are licensed.
Absolutely.
I think that's the biggest thing, just like not because, you know how to do it or you saw a video on YouTube, just get licensed.
Yes.
Please. And then you will get the bag and people will be happy with your work. The quality of your work would increase. I think we need that.
Yeah.
Speaking about licenses, a lot of Bengalis are getting, their brokerage license, right? When it comes to, real estate and, mortgages and things like that. Currently, anytime I scroll Facebook, that's
all I see.
That's all I see, man. All I see is, someone selling a home or someone buying a home or like someone writing a loan. Like shout out to the.
I'm telling you, the Bengali community in Michigan has single-handedly raised the average value.
Guaranteed. All over Metro Detroit.
Oh my
like
God.
literally.
Oh my God.
If we go and do the actual analytics of where Bangladeshis are moving, property values are skyrocketing.
Exactly.
And like one thing is crazy. 2023, the number one appreciating market in all of the U.S. Guess where?
Has to be.
I'm trying to make has to be.
Detroit.
Yep.
Well,
Right.
okay, yeah, Detroit.
Has to be
Detroit. We're at like 8.9%.
Oh, wow.
Keep in mind, average, everything. You just own a piece of junk, shit's up 10%,
Yeah.
right? That's how it is.
Yeah.
And in Florida, Miami specifically, they were the running community, running metro market that held number one. Then Detroit took it in 2023.
Wow.
2024, it was Buffalo, New York.
New York, yep.
What you guys know about Buffalo?
I know a lot because there's a lot of Bengalis there, man. They've been
Where was, and I
Bengali,
swear to
bro.
God, I don't have any proof of this, but I feel like one of the biggest factors is not even just Bengalis, the immigrant populations
yes.
here, and similar to White Buffalo. Like if I could advise someone on a simple business strategy that's guaranteed to be successful, fucking follow immigrants. Bro, if you see a bunch of Chinese people moving in next door, bro, you up.
Yeah,
Indians,
that's real
Arabs,
gentrification right there. To be honest.
You know
That's
what
how
I'm
you
saying?
know.
Like, if you just follow the immigrant communities, because at the end of the day, people want to pay more to be close. And all of that's happening all over Detroit. Like, there's Southwest Detroit, close to Dearborn. There's so many pockets that are like all dominated by different Arab communities, right? Then we have, you know, of course, there's tons of already existing affluent African American communities that are continuing to flourish. New gentrification, like you guys mentioned, you know, follow white people too, where they go.
Bro, do you think Hamtramck is gonna get gentrificated?
Absolutely.
I mean, I think it is.
It's already there. It's
right?
Really?
Like,
Yeah,
we see
By
like,
who though? By who though? Do you think?
it's
By what group of
that's
people?
interesting, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think like how you were mentioning, immigrants are willing to pay a premium for that proximity, you know. So
Exactly.
the immigrant community itself, they're willing to pay like top dollar over asking for a good property in Hamtramck, right? Just because of the fact all the grocery stores are there, their families are there, the communities are there, the religious institutions are there, doctors. You can walk everywhere in Hamtramck.
Literally,
You don't need a car.
you'll
Everything's
have
there.
immigrants that come and they don't even learn English because they don't need it.
They don't need it.
You know what I'm saying? Like the first thing like kids usually used to or parents used to do is like, oh, we gotta learn English. You know, or we gotta at least try or be enough to communicate. Now every service, you need an accountant, you need to apply for Medicaid, you need to do your taxes, you need a real estate agent, you need a lender, whatever you need. You go into the freaking PNC bank or whatever bank you use, you got somebody that speaks your language. So I think that's a good thing to an extent, but it's also crippling certain people in the sense that like now they don't need to get out of their comfort zone. So to answer, yes, gentrification is guaranteed. It's already happening. You know, you got people that are rebuilding new homes. You know, like if you compare like Ferndale, Royal Oak, those kind of areas, it's the similar style of home, vinyl properties, you know, bungalows, colonials, ranches, things like that. Those regular homes, it's not like even take Warren and Sterling Heights, they're a different style of home. It was made to look suburban. You got driveways, you got garages, things like that. But when you compare Royal Oak or Ferndale or even Hazel Park, it's really communities like Hamtramck.
Yeah.
And it's just rebuilt. Even Birmingham, yeah, you got all these brand new houses, but it was all just really Hamtramck looking houses.
Yeah.
You know, maybe a little bit bigger in square footage when they were originally built, but you know, so yes, it is happening. I think Hamtramck is going to continue to rise. You know, like people who owned homes, like, you know, two-family houses, an example, 5 years ago, 150 to 170 might have been the top. Now it's like 300. You know, so it's going to continue to happen. You have affluent, strong communities, working class people. So, you know, like just continue to hold on for whoever got property.
Yeah, I think gentrification too, right? It's like I feel like when immigrants come in and do it, I feel like it's a little different than if like affluent, established people in America are coming in from the suburban cities and then trying to buy up and rebuild. You know, I think maybe it's not gentrification might not be the exact term for it, but it's like a type of it, you know?
It is definitely a type of it.
Yeah. So I don't know, man.
I think
Shout out to the
Hamtramck-
immigrants in general,
Yeah,
bro.
for
Like
real,
the
you know?
Bengalis, the Arabic community, the Yemeni community, they came into Hamtramck, Banglatown, the 48212.
48212, baby.
Exactly,
Yes,
right?
sir.
They came in where there was nothing. There is nothing. Abandoned houses, burnt down houses, and they single-handedly bought up the land, started building the houses, and now it's packed. There's communities over there.
Yeah.
It's like the immigrants in Detroit don't get that credit. You know what I'm saying? They're
Not enough.
like, and to circle it back, man, they are really raising those property values. They contributed to that dramatic increase.
Absolutely.
You know, in America. So shout out to them, man.
And shout out to our people. Shout out to all the immigrants working hard. You know, I look at like the immigrant struggle as now being a little bit older, having a business as an advantage. Because I feel like I wouldn't have this grit. Like every day in my business, there's some challenge that I didn't face. Or like every month I'm like ready to pack up. I'm like, bro, I'm good. I got some rental income. I don't need this shit, you know? I feel like that then that immigrant mentality kicks in, like, nah, I'm gonna keep pushing.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, we might not have started with a lot, but I can assure you one of the highest growing household incomes among immigrants is Bangladeshi income. And I don't know the statistics off the top of my head, but it's growing, you know, crazy.
Yeah.
And it's exciting, bro. It's
It
exciting.
is. It is. And the fact that, like, I'm telling you, like, people, I think when you're in the community, right, with your own culture, with your own peoples, right, you're in a bubble. But when you go out into the world and start seeing these different communities, different cities, different spaces, right, I found in my experience, like, I appreciate where my roots are, where I'm coming from.
Facts.
Because especially with the aspect of, like, immigrant, like, they're some of the hardest working people.
Bro,
like, they're willing
spot.
to have, like, come in here, work the shittiest jobs at the lowest hourly wages just to save up for years and years on end, just to provide for their family or like just to keep their bills paid, you know what I'm saying? So,
And no matter what job that they do, like they, you know, they put their all into that, you know, like quality work, you know, because it's, you know, it's a sense of pride for them, you know,
Absolutely, man.
where it's like, you know, I you know, growing up, that's one thing that, you know, Banglatown taught me, was, you know, to put pride in your work. Basically, whatever you touch or whoever you talk to, you know, leave them, you know, better off than how you found them or how you found it, right? You know,
facts.
I think that's something that, you know, that stays with us as we, you know, venture out of, like, you know, Hamtramck, our community, and, you know, in our business practices, and, you know, just overall our lens. So I work in, you know, in the Birmingham area and things like that. Very affluent, right? Very affluent. But even the Birmingham area, you know, it has like small communities and things like that based on whatever their demographic is. It seems like wherever you go, no matter, you know, what tax, you know, bracket you're in, you know, everyone is looking for, you know, that small town, you know, vibe,
Community.
right? That, you know, they want to build community, you know, have a sense of belonging, you know. And with Hamtramck, you know, that's always been a thing. I mean, look at all the businesses. Forget about the houses for a second, you know. I mean, even though people are turning, you know, ranch houses into 3-story apartments, you know, you know, we can't even, you know, put that to the side for a second. I mean, look at these businesses. When was the last time we had like a McDonald's or, like, you know, like one of those franchise businesses in Hamtramck? I'll wait.
I think most of them were closed. They were open.
got bought up by the
And
immigrants.
it's because who wants a McDonald's burger when you got freaking
Exactly.
10 businesses ran by the owner who's putting his heart, sweat, and soul, and that shit tastes better.
Yeah.
Same price, if not better pricing. You know, so there's definitely a lot of add value. But one thing I want to make, and I know we're saying a lot of good things, but we got to talk about the bad things.
Oh man,
too.
talk about it, man. Talk
Bro,
about it.
we
two
need
things
bad
that are my
good.
fucking, I don't
Yeah.
know why I'm cursing, but two things that are my pet
Yes.
peeves are copycats.
Oh my God.
All right.
I know what you're going.
And
I know where you're
second,
going.
bro, people they take pride. Like, if you walk into a Bengali's home, the inside is beautifully kept. Aside the day they cook, it might have, you know, that amazing smell.
Yeah,
I say
yeah.
amazing because it tastes like how it smells.
Yes,
you know?
sir.
It's powerful,
You can
right?
taste it when you smell it. You know,
taste
Taste
it.
it through your nose.
But I can assure you, every Bangladeshi, most immigrant households are all kept so nice, neat and clean. Like, guests come, like, not even a shoe's crooked in the house, right?
Yeah.
That's the level that we like to keep our personal space.
for sure.
That needs to pour into our outside spaces, meaning lawns, backyards.
Okay.
Like, if I drive down a block, I already know who's a Bengali and who's not.
Oh man.
Forget the cars. We don't even need to look at the cars.
Look for all the Toyotas.
Look
you
for
know
the
what I mean?
garden, the
cameras.
hat. Like, even you guys are doing gardening. Like, you know, I'm sure their previous environment and experience is a factor. But, like, now we got Home Depot, bro. Go get, like, nice, you know, garden sticks and set your platforms properly. Like, I remember, like, even in my backyard growing up, my grandma would freaking pick up twigs and all this random piece of wood
And just use it,
just
right?
use it.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it looks all so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It give,
Yeah,
the
man.
results of the garden are great, but
Yeah.
take pride in those kind of things, and
Make
I
it look
include
nicer,
myself.
You know,
Yeah,
for
like,
sure.
I live in the suburbs now, and I try to. I gotta sprinkler system and shit, but my lawn don't look like my neighbors.
Yeah, man. See, that's a thing. Like, bro, I've been trying for the past 2.5 years. Well, 2 years, let's just say. I've been trying, bro. I've been trying to get my lawn as green as like, you know, like the white people's lawns. You know, like that's the only way I can say it, because I just can't. You know, like I try it. You know, like the whole, you know, there's a season for seeding. There's a seeding for fertilizing. There's a season. Like it gets deep, bro. It gets deep, bro. It's hard.
redid the entire lawn. I'm like, all right, that's how you fix
dug
it.
it out.
Yeah, dug it out by hand.
I might do that.
Dug it out, he didn't lay out the turf. He just put the seeds in, watered it, in like 2 weeks. It was like, that's how you do it.
Seriously.
Started from scratch.
And our people,
that's
they
the last
got,
thing I'm gonna try.
what is it, the green thumb? That's what people call it?
Yeah.
Bro, we could grow something anywhere. You know what I mean?
Grass. I can't grow grass. Bro, I can grow nagamoris, bro. You know what I mean? That's in my blood. I can just give me a pot. You know what I mean? I got it. But it's like grass literally grows everywhere. But yet, for some reason, I can't grow grass, bro. I can't do it. It's hard, man. But no, like what you said about like, you know, gardening and everything like that, it's very important, you know, and Hamtramck is big on that. But now I think they're cutting down on it, you know, like the city is getting involved. Like you can't, like they will fine you. You know, if they can see it and it gets like unruly with the vines and everything like that, they'll ticket you. Hamtramck started ticketing all the homeowners like we live in Sterling Heights or something, bro, because it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like for the smallest things, like they're writing tickets. You know, I mean, it's great, I guess, for the city to kind of like, you know, up their standard. You know, I've been noticing that. I'll be honest. I've been noticing that. You know, the city's been doing that more to the residents, but I think the residents are also, you know, working to up their game when it comes to certain things. But you know, besides the residential side, you know, I also have a pet peeve. You know, I don't know if you guys agree with this or not, but you know, when it comes to Banglatown, I like how you said copycats and things like that. Well, speaking of which, you know, how come we have 17,000 groceries in Hamtramck, you know? Like why is that a thing? Why do we have, you know, 100 restaurants that serve the same thing?
And wait. Regarding restaurants, why are all Bengali restaurants called Indian, man? Oh! Our shit's different. I swear to God, I hate that. Like, I literally I go to other states or other places, right?
Yes.
Like, you know, you out in Florida a couple weeks in.
That's true.
You know, you hungry, you want some home cooking, bro. I can't search Bengali food and find anything.
It's Indian cuisine.
Indian cuisine.
Yes.
We should have our own section on Google, Apple Maps, all that. You know, there's enough of us for a fact.
I like that.
We need to take pride and we need to make it different. Like people should be able to know, all right, you know what? Bengali food and spices taste like this. Pakistanis are like this. Indians are like
Change
this.
up the names too.
Change up the name.
Yeah,
man.
bro.
Change it out, bro.
It has to be how like it has to be because like the first Bengali restaurants that opened, they're probably like people don't know what Bengalis are back in the day.
True, but
now it's like
now there's no excuse. That's all. That's all
we
he's
gotta
saying.
start somewhere. People don't know still, and we're way behind. Because we keep calling our shit Indian.
Yeah, bro.
You know what I mean? Imagine for the last 20 years, every customer that came in, they knew it was a Bengali place, bro. Bangladesh would be on the map. You know what I mean?
I think so too.
We gotta start somewhere. So to all the business owners that will watch or are gonna be a viewer, please take pride. We're doing Made in Banglatown, right? We got a whole area in Detroit named after us. Because we showed out, we put in the work. So we need to do that in all things. And even the copycat, like I don't mean like don't have a lot of restaurants. We want options as consumers. But do it better. Like innovate, man. That's the word right there.
Quality over quantity. That's my opinion.
True.
You know, like if you know, Hamtramck is very small. I mean, it's probably like it stretches 1 mile. You know what I mean? And within that mile, if I'm passing, you know, 5 grocery stores on the same street, you know what I mean? It just like what's the point of that? They're all selling the same thing, you know. So now it's kind of like, you know, that space could have been used for something else to, you know, further develop our community. So, you know, I want to ask you guys this, right? There are a lot of spaces still available in Hamtramck, right? What would you like to see? What business do you think our people need, you know, to further develop us?
Super important.
Good question, man. But hold on, before I get into that real quick, right? I just want to put out this one pet peeve, right?
Since we talk about pet peeve, everybody say one.
This hometown right here, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's not even specific to any community or group or whatever. It's like, what's up with these parking meters in Hamtramck?
Bro, we don't need parking.
We
meters.
don't, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
nobody's
Why?
even paying them.
Why? Like, for what? Like you're ruining traffic to businesses and then ticketing people just because they go in to go get some groceries. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the point of that?
Yeah.
Like,
I think
tax dollars.
Yeah, it is 100%. So
Some
when it comes
revenue.
to Hamtramck,
crazy, man.
you know, Hamtramck started a lot of initiatives to, add meters and things like that. I mean,
Literally
it's-
just on that one strip.
it's
Yeah.
too
On Kniff.
because
Bro,
it's the
I
main
know,
street.
man.
It's the main street. I get it. I totally
Because
get
the
it.
Campo always had
Yeah.
some. Yeah.
But here's the real deal. With all these dispensaries and things that are opening up here, I think you're getting a lot of tax. I think you're getting enough tax.
Yeah, that
Hamtramck.
$25
yeah.
is changing nothing.
You feel me? I think you guys are getting enough tax. So I think small things like these parking meters and things
Yeah.
like that. I mean, you're not helping the businesses, right? But I in their defense, though, I will say the meters aren't always enforced. And they are enforced like certain times. So it really seems like, half the time you really have to pay for it. But I mean, that also goes back to your point. If that's the case, like, why even have them?
the point.
Like that's.
You got the most
I think-
high-tech
yeah.
meters in
Yeah.
all of Michigan.
Yeah, take a picture of your license plate and everything, send it to your house, and it was like, hey, Naji, you parked over here for 15 minutes. Like, you got to pay us $30. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
dang, Hamtramck, I love you, but like, you got to chill out. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
We said tax.
yeah.
So I want to say something that I think as a real estate agent, I notice a lot more. One, I want to complain about realtors who are not educating buyers to understand that their taxes will get reassessed whenever they buy a new property.
What do you mean by that?
Okay.
Deep dive that. That's very
All right.
important.
Let's say Mr. Naji owns a house in Hamtramck since 2010.
Yep.
His property value is, one, probably assessed a lot lower in the eyes of the city because they haven't had ownership change or whatnot. His house is worth 200K, but they're assessing the house worth at like 50K. So your taxes are based on the fact that you buy in 2011, it's 50K. It maybe went up a little bit over the years because it's gone up, but it hasn't uncapped is the word because that gets reassessed completely based on current millage rates that they're charging for to new homeowners. So I, as your agent, when I am helping you buy a house, right, that homeowner is paying $2,000. But you, though, Mr. Naji, when you buy that house, it's not like, oh, you know what, it's $2,000, it's gonna go up like a couple $100. It's not how taxes work. Like, you know what, I wanna pull out, let's make this legit so people understand. There is a website, all right, it's by the state of Michigan. Let me give it to you. Property Tax Estimator, all right? Michigan, just type that in. It'll take you to the first one. It's a michigan.gov. I want all of you guys on your phone, right? This is about to blow your guys' mind, all right?
Link in bio.
Yeah, we'll put it in the link so you guys can freaking, I got a camera here. We'll put it in the link so you guys can use it. Double, triple check agent work, all right? Just because they're a licensed realtor doesn't mean they did all their homework, right? Some people, they just maybe missed it. So this is educational purposes for realtors and also to help actually our own actual buyers. All right, now when you go to it, the website, begin property tax estimate, all right? County, we all know what county we're in, right? You guys know we're in Wayne, right?
Yeah.
I know you guys know. All right, city, go to Hamtramck. School district should be Hamtramck Public Schools. Search, all right? Asks for SEV, state equalized value. That's usually 50% of the actual value. That's how they calculate it. If it's 200,000, you would input 100 grand. When you automatically buy, they're gonna reassess it based on the purchase price that you're buying for. It's only logical, right? So let's just say someone is buying a $200,000 house in Hamtramck. Type in, guys, SEV 100 grand. Hit calculate. What does it say their house taxes are about to be?
Oh, you put that in there?
Dog, what?
Literally, guys. All right, bro. I don't know if they can see it.
$6,000.
That's if they
Estimated-
live in the house. And if they rent it even higher, there's non-homestead and homestead. All right, homestead means I live there. Non-homestead, it's a second house, rental property, whatever the case is. It's usually 30%-ish higher. The math kind of reflects that. It would be basically 8K, 78, 63 exact, non-homestead. And if they buy a 200 grand house, in Hamtramck, right now, their tax is about to go up $6,100. That ruins families.
Damn.
Our families are buying, a house, 200, 250K, whatever. Their income is 30 grand. They thought their mortgage would be tax, insurance, everything, $1,100. That shit shoots up to $1,600, $1,700.
Yeah.
Maybe for a professional person, $500, $600, all right, I just gotta eat out less. But they're not even eating out. They're literally balling on a budget. Their majority of home income goes to their living expenses. So $500, $600 for a person to pay more every month is detrimental. And I hear lots of people complain after, like, oh, and we're a brokerage. I have responsibility for what our agents do to an extent. Keep in mind, also, agents are independent contractors, so if they do something, they're not like a regular employee. I'm not paying them a wage, or they're independent contractors, so they do their own thing.
They are liable for their actions.
Yeah. They're liable for their actions. But now, a homeowner, $200,000, even though Mr. Naji's taxes were at $2 grand, agents like eyeballing it. I'd probably go up to like 3, 4K. No, the numbers are there. It's nothing hard. You type it in. It took us 20 seconds.
Yeah.
It's going to go to $6 grand.
Jeez.
So that's super important for you guys who are making a decision to buy a house. Please double check where your taxes are going to go to, what your insurance is going to be, and of course the mortgage. Your lender should be advising you, rates and things like that. And I say this to everyone, especially in the service field. One is when you're getting service from someone, shop them, okay?
Ooh, okay.
Go, if you're planning on using Nabil as a realtor, why am I even using it? Do I know that? Did I interview my realtor? Did I interview my lender? The rate that he gave me, did I go and check if someone can provide me better? Those things, and just it's not about the rate always. You gotta check and learn how to read the closing statements. Bro, lender's charging you thousands of dollars just cause.
For service costs.
Service costs. You get paid a commission. There should be service costs and things like that. And like, for example, even on the investment side of things, I'm not gonna take 3% or 6% on a 40 grand house and put 7 months of my time, sweat, energy. I charge a flat fee. Straightforward, I'm expensive when it comes to investments, but it's because I've built that reputation. But again, I want people and consumers to shop rates, check it out. If they're buying something, they'll probably, at the grocery store, they'll probably check like 3 other places on potato prices.
100%.
Right? But they didn't check nothing on buying a house.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So advice to actual realtors, actual buyers, and hopefully the city of Hamtramck and Detroit even, our millage rate is what they base it off of. Your city and your school district are what factors into your property taxes.
Right.
So it's much higher than other areas. And that's because probably like way back when you're talking about 30, 40 grand, that millage rate made sense because your taxes were still $1,100, $1,200, $1,500. But with these new prices in these markets, that millage rate really needs to be deeply dived and reassessed from the city.
Yeah, why is this so, like, property taxes, like, shot up? I think I did some renovations to my home, and, the next year shot up a minimum 400%,
God damn.
So, like
400%?
400%, yes, sir. So what, like, why? Why is that?
Did you pull permits and things like that when you did your work?
Yeah.
I'm glad you did. That's the right way to do it. But they're also evaluating, let's say you put on pull a permit. In there, it asks like rough range of how much in renovation you're doing. And then they're adding that to your value. Why it went 400%? That's outrageous. There might be an error. Go down to the city, talk to them. Lots of people come up to me, like especially city of Hamtramck, Detroit, and Warren is also stupid high. All right. People are asking me like, yo, can you do something for me? No, I'm not. But you know what we can do together is we can do a class action lawsuit. We can do an appeal where you can get 1,000 people and take it in front of the city, go in front of the assessment meetings. There's obviously different departments and boards, but we as people need to start getting involved. You don't need to run for council to have your voice heard. Get enough people together and find the issues and actually put in the effort.
Yeah.
And these are the things that politicians should have been advising us, but they ain't doing jack. They just want a seat. They want a title. I feel like people like you guys, bro, you guys need to run for politics, man. You guys are in the business field and you guys could probably make a difference, but it's, again, not even about a specific person. It's about the mentality that is going into that seat. You got people like from back home, like, like some of the most powerful people in our countries and immigrant countries is a political position. But really police, political positions, all these are meant to be services. We pay public servants. You know, like, and that's one good thing about all religions is that it teaches you those kind of moral guides and codes. And, you know, especially for people who are like kings or had those kind of powers, it's not that you rule everyone, you serve everyone. And if people don't understand that, they're running for all the wrong reasons. You know? But
I think so too.
these are some advices. This is stuff that just comes to my mind, like bothers me in my night sleep.
Nah, man, me too, bro.
Keeps me up at night when, like, I feel bad. Like,
too.
you know, let's say uncle down the street, their taxes were $2,000, now it's $6K.
Yeah. That's on the lower end.
$6K, $4,000, right? Divided by 12, that's like 300 and some change.
Yeah.
Their payment goes up.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're gonna make the payments go up like this, then shouldn't, you know, the quality of living in that area also, you know, be going up? I mean, you said it's based, you know, one of the reasons, you know, is based on like the school district and things like that. I love you, Hamtramck, I really do. But, you know, Ham High, Dickinson East, and all these, you know, schools that we have, I mean, bro, they're getting like 3 out of 10.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? On the scale, like still. So like, what's, you know, I just don't get it. What are we paying more for? You know, like I would pay more if Hamtramck right now is paying, you know, property taxes equivalent to areas like Warren. You know what I mean? It's like Sterling Heights almost. But it's like Hamtramck is not in the same quality as these cities. Not yet, you know, but you know, it just gotta make sense. What do you think? What do you think is the next Hamtramck? You think Warren is the next Hamtramck?
It already is.
Well, yeah, it is.
Already
The Bengali-wise, yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
You know, and you know what? I'll say this here. I was talking to someone who I will not name, you know, or even their position, but you know, they have a lot of good information about the city and how it works. And
The
right
city of
now,
Warren?
the city of Warren.
Oh, okay.
And the city of Warren, 40% of the total tax comes for their income, property taxes are coming from new homeowners. And it's why it doesn't make sense. The percentile should be significantly less. If 10% of new homes are sold, all right, you know what? They got assessed instead of 10% being the amount that it's being or the proration should be more, a little bit more than 10%. Call it 15. But the fact that new homeowners are paying 40% is a major concern, and I feel like they're, you know, there's some purpose behind it, all right? With the type of people that are buying, with the people that are moving in, for their living costs to generally be higher than the original existing community. You know, yeah, it should be different, but the amount, the drastic difference, and I don't have all the details, but someone who maybe is a news reporter or wants to get a good scoop, you know, go famous, go investigate that.
Not even to get famous. I think someone has to speak the truth.
Somebody
you know
has to
what I mean?
speak
We
up,
got to figure this out because right now,
crazy.
You know, imagine all this money that we're spending on you know, property taxes and things like that. If we were able to retain that, you know, imagine the things that we could do with that. We can probably reinvest that, you know, into so many things. You know, speaking about investing, you know, it seems like that's something that that's always like the last thing we think about as, you know, as immigrants, you know, families who come from overseas and things like that. Like we're not really talking about, you know, how to grow our money. It's more so like, you know, how do we get it? How do we keep it for as long as we can until, you know, we have to, you know, get rid of it again or pay a bill or do this, you know, paycheck to paycheck. You know, how can we break that cycle? What do you guys think?
Investing, man, I think that's a great question to ask.
That is.
I think it starts with, Nabil brought up a great point at the beginning of this, it really starts with the education. Because investments are the last thing you're gonna think about if you're just trying to survive or get by, you know? You can't really start thinking about investments until like you're in a good place financially. So the question becomes like, how do I get into that good place financially? That in itself is an investment. You know, like investing, learning how to like prioritize your time to like, you know, I have to put this many hours towards my job, this many hours towards my freelance work, or you know, and then at the end of the week I'll have this amount left that either goes to taxes or I have to invest. You know.
Right. Yeah.
So
budgeting, right?
Yeah, budgeting. So it starts with that knowledge, that education, and people who can like are like well versed enough to like share and explain how it works. Like this is how you flip a house. This is how you get a rental property. This is how you can just put your money to work for you. And I think you got a lot of information on that.
I got some, but I'm not a financial advisor by any means.
NFA.
I can only give you opinions of what I would do. But
your experience.
My experience, yeah. First, I want to start by saying, for people to invest or be at a mindset, it's not going to happen by one conversation. It's not going to happen by talking to one person. And the fact that we're talking about, creating that level of education, there's a difference of people, like, I think it starts with even just understanding your taxes and how you file those kind of things, right? Yeah. There's a difference between someone who files taxes and who's a tax advisor. So even if our accountants and our CPAs and our tax filing experts in the community just even started educating people, or like you're doing thousands of people's taxes every year, you should have a couple classes throughout the year or something, So it needs to be a combined effort on the educational aspect of it. And, like most financial advisors, they'll first tell you to allocate a certain percentage to certain things, right? And learning percentage form is super important for being able to not only manage your own money, but to calculate returns and things like that. Most business people are thinking in percentage form. So first, think in percentage form for your own money. All right, I make, $5,000. Let's just say someone makes $5,000 a month, all right? In that kind of scenario, all right, my living expenses are $2,000 a month, right? At that point, that's 40% of your actual earnings. What's happening with the other 60%? Okay, I use 20% for lifestyle excess, right? And that's different from the minimum, my bills, my car, my gas, my utilities. That's a certain percentage. Then your personal costs, things that you like to do, like to travel. And then comes the savings, right? And savings should be broken down into two categories as well: rainy day funds, and then also what I'm willing to let go of for now, what I'm willing to risk is a good word. If you lost it, you'd still be fine, right? So once you know that percentage of how much you can comfortably do, most people will say like 33%, 33%, 33%. That's the simple, method that most people are calculating off of. Now, the 33% that I have towards investing, what am I investing in? Is it in a savings account? You're a financial advisor, brother. How much does money market accounts pay?
So I'm not a financial advisor, but
he's in finance.
I am in finance and investments. But I can say right now, a money market, roughly 4%. 4% APY.
My man, hit it on the nose. I just got offer from freaking Huntington Bank, 4%. Yeah. They're like, put your money in the savings. I'm like, bro, that 4% ain't doing nothing for me.
It won't
It's
even beat
still,
inflation.
it won't even beat inflation. That's a very good point. People need to understand inflation in itself. If I have 100 grand right now that's sitting cash, the simple way to understand inflation is that what I can buy with this 100K today, can I buy the same or more next year? What's the answer?
Probably
Definitely
not.
not.
Definitely not. Exactly. House prices, egg prices, gas, freaking DTE, I heard, is also increasing their cost for utilities.
Oh,
all these things, So one, you need to understand how much you're allocating to each budget, each category, each bucket. And then from the investment bucket, there's like stocks and bonds, there's, money market accounts, there's sureties, real estate investments, now crypto. There's a percentage form on how much you're willing to risk, but especially for starting, even though it's a little bit more of an entry barrier and cost, real estate is always going to be the safest investment. It doesn't fluctuate. I love what I do because I don't need to convince anyone that it's a good idea to buy a house. Everyone knows that. I need a house, right? Now, instead of having just one house, rental properties, so on and so forth, it's a bigger entry, but if you partner with people, work together, it's a lot easier to do. So my advice is first, simply understand where you can put each percentage and allocate it to, and then talk to someone and other people and actually create a strategy based on how much you're able to save.
What's a moment in your journey where you almost gave up but didn't?
Man, that's like every month, I feel like so many new things hit me, but feel like there was a time where, let's see if I want to talk about this. Hold up. All right. So there was a time where a lot of change happened all at once, right? In my personal life, in the structure of our business, the partnership arrangements, and just a lot happened all at once that I felt like, you know what, this is all just way too much. Let me take a step back and, you know, let things kind of run its course. And then trying to do that, like just gotta catch my own breath to be able to deal with all these fires that were going off. I realized even more fires were starting. So at that point, I'm like, man, you know what? I don't know if I got this in me. And this is recent, you know, and, you know, I'm so glad I pushed through because I think that made me into a much better man. And I feel like now, you know, like some stuff happened recently where our company's name had, you know, something bad associated to it. It kind of got a little bit viral. You know, I don't want to go into too many details, but
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
So, you know, like something like that, I would have been like, at a point, I'd be like, oh my God, what am I going to do? But I swear to God, that happened and I laughed.
I
was
laughed
like,
too.
you know what I mean? Like, I laughed not because of anything, but I was like, it's just one of many problems. You know what I mean? So, you know, as of recent, you know.
I just thought it was
definitely.
funny because it was kind of like, it just like, and I knew you guys were gonna be okay because it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
so it's so stupid. It's just the like when the media kind of like take like this whole time, these
Yeah.
past couple years, like yo, there's all these positive things that you know a group has been doing, but yet as soon as there's like one little bit of negativity, that's like somehow how can the media you know attach this to them? You know what I
Yes,
mean?
yes.
It's BS. You know what I'm saying? But you know
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys got through that. I mean you know
Absolutely.
like someone got to find that guy though. You know what I'm saying? Where's he at? It's crazy. But no, I wanted to really ask you. Can I ask you about the investing? So like, what is Sharia compliant? Like, what is a Sharia compliant investment?
Okay. So Sharia compliant, that word is basically the Islamic verbiage for considering something to be ethically allowed. Okay. That just means that the religion has X amount of conditions for investments, you know, no interest, the type of partnership model, cannot be haram things like liquor stores, whatever, you know, pork, stuff like that, right? So there's limitations on what we can and can't invest in. And that's the gist of what, when you call like the investment fund that I'm working on Sharia compliant, it just means that it meets it and is now like halal. And a similar way, like most religions, like even Jewish community, they have kosher as their Sharia compliant, right? So I'm sure Christians have their own verbiage and things like that, but it just means that it's halal.
It's halal. Okay. So who is this investment product designed for, and what are the potential benefits for it?
So the investment product I'm working on, it's really designed for people who want to invest hands-free. They want to take advantage of the possible returns from real estate investing, but either don't have the time, they don't have the money, they don't have, you know, the skill set, whatever the case is, right? It's for people who understand what real estate investing is, but don't have all the resources or skill sets. So now they're trusting us to invest or help them with that, you know, investment aspect of things. So that's what it's really designed for, people who want to be hands-free and invest in real estate. And, you know, profession-wise, it could be anybody. Doesn't matter if you're blue collar, white collar, doctor. As long as you are interested in investing in real estate and want to be hands-free, this particular product that I've been working on is designed for you.
You know what? How does this differ from any you know traditional investment option?
Okay, good question. The traditional investment funds and companies, they usually allocate money into different things, right? So it could be a certain percentage in real estate, a certain percentage in stocks, cryptos, startup companies, you name it. Our company differs because it's 100% real estate investment. It's backed by real estate. So there's nothing safer than a real estate investment. It's tangible. It's something that someone can't steal. Can it get broken into? Yes, it's in short-term we're planning. But no one can just disappear with it, and it's not fluctuant, right? Like what happened over the last few weeks, you know, after Trump's election and whatnot, stocks drastically went down, wiping out people's retirement accounts. It did shoot back up in certain categories and things like that. I'm not a stock expert, but it was so fluctuating. It's $100 one day, $50 the next.
Yeah.
You could lose everything in one shot. Real estate differs, and this fund differs because it's 100% backed by real estate. And second, I'd like to highlight the fact that it is completely unleveraged. There's no financing, there's no debt. This investment fund is 100% cash owned. So when recession and different things happen, we are recession proof. We are a lot safer because we don't have these underlying debts and payments and high cost for operating our business. We're liquid.
So you're not taking this cash, right, from your investors and then using that cash to get loans and things like that.
We're taking cash and turning it into more cash. Okay. All right. The goal is that we are going to do X amount of flips and raise the immediate capital, so that way we can, of course, show and basically provide investors a proof of result. And one, also, it's very doable. But again, we have a big fund that we're working with, so not all of it's going to be allocated towards flips. The end goal will then be to take that capital that we've made from flips and the initial capital that we've raised, and we are going to basically then reinvest all that back into the same strategy where we're buying the house, we're fixing it, we've gained all the equity, but instead of selling it, we're just renting it, which we're going to handle the whole infrastructure ourselves.
Okay. So as an investor, right, I understand how you explained, let's say I put in 100, and then equity, you guys were able to force appreciation, now it's 130, right? And then I'm entitled to 65% of that 30 gain, right? So how is that, is that something I'm able to take out? Is it how liquid is that? How accessible is that gain?
So there's two types of gains. One is going to be actual rental income. For years 1, 2, and 3, you're going to get that on an annual basis directly in your pocket. You get 6 to 7% in return. That's what we're anticipating, because we're allocating some of that $5 million into immediate apartment building or a turnkey asset, or even taking that investment and parking it into already existing operation that's also Sharia compliant. That'll create some immediate income for the fund. We're not allocating all of it. Like I could say I'm going to spend $5 million on houses tomorrow, but am I going to find all 5 million of good deals? No. So 6 to 7% of that's going to be distributed annually to you guys for years 1, 2, and 3. That comes.
Oh, it's term based.
Yeah. So there is a lock period, right? When someone invests into that fund, they basically are locked in for 3 years. And at year 3's end, 37th month, they can sell their shares. And the concept is that you become an owner of the fund, right? So you've invested, you put in money, fund goes and does its thing, but you own shares, right? And we're selling shares at $1,000 a share. You get what I'm saying? So those shares now have gone up in value. At year 3, you could decide to sell. Or realistically, I plan, and most of the investors I've been already talking to, plan to continuously hold it, because by end of year 3, that's when the portfolio has, flourished. We put in all the hard work. We have now 100 properties and units that are bringing us rent. So to answer your question, we are going to have fix and flips to increase the portfolio value immediately, but then it's all going to be reinvested into assets that we will continue to hold.
So for the 3 years, right, for the term, how can you guarantee a minimum of 18%?
So in reality, there's no guarantee in any business, especially with us being Sharia compliant. It's a partnership model, but the investment return that we've calculated, it's very simple math. Number one factor is that we're generally creating about 25% ROI on a flip. You invest $100,000, you make 25K roughly, right? It's $5 million, add another 25% to that, takes us to about 6.25, okay? Then the goal is that even though it's only 6.25, we want to flip until we reach $6.5 million, okay? And then we reinvest again all that $6.5 million, which will appreciate again right about 25%. Now we have a $5 million portfolio that turned to $8 million over a span of 3 years. And in regards to the returns, it's calculated based on the actual appreciation plus rental dividends. And years 1, 2, and 3, it'll be more capital appreciation, less rent, you know, and then by year 4, it's a lot more rent and less capital appreciation, because now I'm not flipping or fixing houses like that. I'm just collecting.
Right.
Yeah.
I like this.
Yeah. So you know, on Monopoly, in the beginning first, you're like building all these houses, and now I've got, you know, all the railroads, right?
Yeah.
And now when people land on them, I don't need to do anything. I put in the work, right? I built the railroads, and now they land on it, they got to pay me rent.
Yeah.
We're playing Monopoly, guys.
got
It's everybody knows Monopoly. It's simple, you know, and it's like, it's not rocket science. That's one thing I love about real estate. I don't have, you know, a fancy degree, you know. I just have real life experience, and real estate is the best way for you to make real profit, and while keeping things simple.
You know what? What's the most misunderstood thing when it comes to investing, especially, you know, specifically from us Bengalis, our community? What's hindering us?
I would say, one, the fact that people think anything is guaranteed. Ain't nothing guaranteed but death and taxes. All right, so come in prepared to possibly lose money, right? Have that mentality, you know, that I'm willing to risk it. Higher the risk, higher the reward. So I think the mentality about how investments work is completely misunderstood. So I think when people decide that they want to invest, they should do thorough research, Google, ChatGPT, talk to people, speak to a financial advisor, talk to the banker at your regular bank, but go into it with the right mentality and expect, and preferably businesses should be long-term, right? You know, sometimes the simple strategies are, even in stocks, is I'm just gonna buy it and wait. Wait long enough till it goes up. It works, right? So don't overcomplicate things. Be in it for the long run. If you wanna find me, just catch me at 31912 Mound Road, the Amin Realty building in Warren. I live there. I'm probably there more than I'm at my home, so I'm never too far. Come by, stop by, give us a call. You know, my phone number is 313-247-8369. I got Instagram, you know, it's broker_Nabillion. Why is it that? Don't ask me. It's just, it is, right? So you can find me online.
Because you're worth $1 billion.
Nah, man. I feel like I'm worth $1 billion, but I'm not. You know, I just believe in myself, you know, but what I do day to day is really just service people in the real estate realm. We have access to, of course, investment deals, but if you want to buy a home for yourself, sell your own home, whatever the case is, there's so many layers to our business. We even now provide property management, and, you know, for people who acquire and invest through us, we also offer them exclusively construction management. So, yeah, that's where to find me and what I do.